The Pentagon and CENTCOM are going after the MeidasTouch network after Aaron Parnas broke some of the biggest stories regarding the horrific treatment of our courageous sailors and Marines aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln and the USS George H.W. Bush, the supercarriers right now in the Persian Gulf. Pete Hegseth is out there attacking us, saying that our reporting is fake news. CENTCOM made a post saying that our reporting is false, and then they tried to act like we were reporting on something completely else. Folks, we've been hearing from the military families. We've been hearing from the sailors and Marines themselves aboard these supercarriers. The situation is absolutely dire. I want to give a hat tip to Aaron Parnas, affiliated with the MeidasTouch network. He's got his own YouTube channel. I'm sure you know him on TikTok. One of the most incredible reporters out there today. Make sure you subscribe to his YouTube channel. He's been leading the way on this reporting. Also, hat tip to the Military Times, Stars and Stripes. MS Now has been doing great coverage on this as well. It's something we really need to pay a lot of attention to, because the way the Trump regime is treating our courageous sailors and Marines, it's exactly what Donald Trump had said about our service members. He called them suckers and losers, and this is how he's treating them right now. So by now, I'm sure you've seen our reporting. It was the top story on Drudge. Rotten meat, no milk. Troops detail life aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln. And we've heard from the family members of these sailors and Marines as they say, the Navy doesn't care about us. They are intentionally making us suffer, and the families know what's going on. Senator Gallego of Arizona, who himself served in our armed forces, he's a veteran, he responded to Pete Hegseth's attack on us. And Senator Gallego said, look, I'm in communication with a spouse who is forwarding me her husband's text messages. Stop lying and fix the problem. I'll play for you what Hegseth said in just a moment. But here's the post by U.S. Central Command CENTCOM. Over the past 48 hours, multiple media outlets have reported several false claims related to the USS Abraham Lincoln deployment to the Middle East. One report alleged 7 sailors died in a brawl aboard the aircraft carrier, and others recently suggested a spike in suicidal ideations. These reports are false. Fact, USS Abraham Lincoln has maintained among the highest crew re-enlistment rates, 84.4% of all aircraft carriers in the U.S. Navy. The sailors and Marines of the Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group remain resilient and resolved after more than 260 days at sea, 10,000 aircraft flights, and 1.5 million pounds of ordnance expended. No service members aboard the aircraft carrier have died, and the one sailor who fell overboard August 3rd was quickly and safely recovered. The rampant misreporting on Abraham Lincoln's historic deployment is a disservice to our men and women in uniform and their loved ones. No, your behavior is a disservice. Y'all are a bunch of treasonous traitors, in my opinion, the way you're treating our service members, and then making this despicable post right here. And I'll just break it down in a moment. But you said that accurately reporting what the family members are saying, what's happening, accurately reporting what the Navy sailors and Marines aboard these supercarriers are saying, that's actually patriotism, to tell the truth. And notice what they tried to do here. And you can see how they're lying and their tactics. They just think we're stupid. They create like a completely false premise that no one's really talking about. I mean, we've never reported, no one that I know is really reporting that there were 7 sailors who died in a brawl aboard the aircraft carrier. What we've been reporting consistently, and others have, is that there's been 6 or 7 service members who attempted to jump overboard, including one individual who did jump overboard because the conditions are so horrible. What we and others have been reported, with Aaron Parnas leading the way, is that the plumbing doesn't work. There's mold all over the bathrooms. The showers don't work. The service members are not getting the nutrition they need to stay healthy, that they're losing 20, 30, some are losing 50 pounds, that the service members feel horrible that they are being linked to these war crimes that the Trump regime is engaged in, that they never know when this deployment's going to end, that they've been out to sea for nearly 9 months, and the Gerald Ford for basically a year, which returned in May, but the USS Abraham Lincoln, that morale is at an all-time low. So you're creating this 7 sailors didn't die in a bar brawl. Okay, well, that's not the issue that's on the front page of Drudge that we've been reporting on. Then they say the U.S. Abraham Lincoln maintained among the highest crew reenlistment rates. Yeah, maybe before the ship went out to sea, you conned them, you frauded them, you defrauded them, exactly what Hegseth and Trump have done their whole life. Now you brought them out to sea, you made this deployment never ending. And so the enlistment rate, by the way, I don't believe any of the numbers coming from the Trump regime, which lies about every number imaginable. So I don't even believe your numbers of enlistment and re-enlistment rates. But regardless, what does that have to do with the fact that they've been deployed for nearly 9 months right now and that the conditions are horrible? It has nothing to do with it. You just think, 84.4%, that's going to make people go, they must be, the reports must be wrong. No, we're not stupid. We know the tactics that you're engaged in right here. And then you just list a bunch of numbers. They remain resilient and resolved after more than 260 days at sea, 10,000 aircraft flights, and 1.5 million pounds of ordnance expended. The 1.5 million ordnance expended, which has gone to slaughter little girls in Manab and to kill innocent people as well, that's one of the things that's leading to the psychological torture that our troops are feeling aboard these supercarriers. And just saying 260 days, 10,000 aircraft flights, again, you're just saying numbers. What does that have to do with anything? That's not the story. The story is they've been out there for a very long time, that you're not giving them basic necessities in order to even live. And their family, are you saying all of their family members are liars? Are you calling our service members, the sailors and the Marines on those ships, and their family members who have reached out to Aaron Parnas and us and to others, are you saying they're liars? Are you saying that the San Diego families who were there calling out the top naval officials who were lying to them and who have treated their family members who have bravely sacrificed for our country and treated them like crap, are you saying those family members in San Diego are liars? Are you saying the family members who were on the virtual chat who were calling out this exact same deplorable conditions aboard these ships, are you saying that they're liars? How dare you? How dare you say that they're liars? This is coming from the family members. You wouldn't know that because, well, you do know that, but you wouldn't care because for you, this is all about your war crimes. This is all about whatever Donald Trump's deranged, these are my blockades of steel. No, you put our troops out there for way too long. You've depleted our interceptors. You've depleted our munitions. You've ran down our stockpiles. You destroyed our strategic petroleum reserves. Our MQ-9 Reapers are destroyed. Our bases are in horrible conditions right now. It's horrible. Here's what Pete Hegseth had to say about us. Here, play this clip.
Completely misrepresented. Listen, we make sure at every ship, every crew, every captain has everything we can provide them at every single moment. Some deployments are longer than others, and I have more respect and gratitude for those sailors than anybody. What they do in those high seas and those austere conditions with less port calls, it's incredible. I mean, Americans don't understand what it's like to do that. So as someone who's not been on a ship like that, but been on long deployments, I feel it. I want them home as soon as everybody else do. I want folks rotated as quickly as possible. I want the best for them. My commanders know that. Our service secretaries know that. The president expects that. And so to that crew and to all those crews, we're going to do everything we can for you. And we are so grateful for their dedication of that crew and others. They've held the line for the country, and they've done a fantastic job.
And so again, Senator Gallego says that he's in touch with the family and the spouses who have forwarded the text messages. Stop lying, Hegseth, and fix the problem. But let's remember, this is the CENTCOM who keeps posting things like this. This was a post from CENTCOM. The southern route through the Strait of Hormuz remains free and open for all commercial vessels seeking to transit the international waterway. Over the past 3 months, U.S. forces have assisted more than 1,000 vessels in successfully transiting the strait despite unwarranted unwarranted Iranian aggression. And these transit continues to say, everybody, it's wide open. Everybody knows. Just stop with the lies. You've totally destroyed the credibility of CENTCOM. It's pathetic. We wrote on the MeidasTouch account, we've heard horrifying accounts directly from family members and sailors aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln. We've seen firsthand communications from those on the carrier. The conditions they describe are deeply disturbing. We're not aware of the specific incident described by CENTCOM, but our latest reporting includes text message from those aboard who are receiving rotten meat and can't even get milk. We will continue exposing the truth about what is happening on the USS Abraham Lincoln. Here's what Aaron Parnas, who's been covering this, had to say. Play this clip.
I've spoken to numerous military families, specifically the wives of their husbands who are currently on board the Abraham Lincoln. And also now, before we hopped on, received an email from someone on the USS George W. Bush who confirmed that the issues are there as well. I mean, ultimately, right now, our service members abroad are having moldy showers, are not getting detergent, not getting soap. They're not getting fresh fruit, fresh vegetables. Some service members haven't had a fresh meal in months. The only fresh food they get is meat. And well, the meat comes frozen. That's the only thing. And the images we're getting from these troops on these ships, I mean, prisoners in American prisons get better meal rations than these troops are getting right now in the Middle East. And it's led, as we've seen reporting today come out, to some service members wanting to essentially jump overboard rather than continue these deployments.
Here's what Senator Gallego, himself a veteran, had to say.
We haven't heard anything, and all we've heard is like public, announcements that what we're seeing and what we're hearing are absolute fabrications. However, I'm actually texting and communicating with a spouse of a sailor that's on the USS Lincoln, and she's been forwarding me some of the text messages that her husband has been sending her. About the conditions, about the work, about the overwork that's happening, the lack of sleep, lack of food, lack of morale, all these things that have just been compounding over and over again because this war was not properly planned. These guys do not care about these men and women. They only want to use them as much as they can and abuse them as much as they can and not really thinking about the best outcome for them. And I know it's hard being in combat zones, but even when I was in some of the hardest days of combat and some of the most dangerous parts of Iraq, I still was able to receive meals and mail and keep morale up. The fact that this administration does not care for these men enough to plan for that men and women to plan for a proper deployment tells you that they didn't really care, A, to plan about at all for a full war, and B, don't care about these men or women.
More from Senator Gallego right here. Let's play it.
Number one, they haven't done any port calls, so they haven't actually gone into any friendly ports to actually refurbish or resupply or just have any type of just recreation. Number two, the food is from what I understand and talking to the sailor, is starting to dwindle. So people are getting less and less food, less and less quality food. The hours are going longer and longer in terms of people working with less sleep. And when you start adding all that up, it becomes a very dangerous situation. Aircraft carriers can be very dangerous. You have a lot of moving parts. You have a lot of airplanes, engines. You have people that could be falling over. And then plus the social isolation of just being on a ship for 270 days. This isn't a cruise ship, mind you. These men and women will have pressure that's put upon them, plus their jobs, plus being away from their families. And the fact that they're being pushed to the limit is going to cause some, unfortunately, mental breakdowns. And we've already heard about that, too. This is why you have to properly plan for war. This is why you understand when you're going to go into war and when you're going to come out of war and how you're going to come out of this war. This president and this Secretary of Defense did not do this. And this is why they're basically flying by the seat of their pants. And at the same time, it's our men and women that are suffering from it.
And here's what Congress member Moulton, also a veteran, here's what he had to say. Play this clip.
You heard the Navy. They tell us that they aren't seeing an uptick of mental health issues on the USS Lincoln. And they're saying they have plenty of mental health resources available. Listen, you're on the Armed Services Committee. Is that statement good enough for you?
Absolutely not. And we will be conducting an investigation to get to the bottom of this. 0 suicides is the only acceptable number. And I'm speaking not just as a veteran, but as the co-author of 988, the National Mental Health Hotline, a service that I made sure was available to troops, even troops overseas. It's pretty obvious, though, that these troops are not getting the mental health support that they need. And it's our job in Congress to get to the bottom of that.
And, CENTCOM is just a total mess right now. Here was the report earlier today. According to Israel's Channel 13, the commander of U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM, Admiral Brad Cooper, told Israeli officials during a recent visit that he is pushing for renewed strikes and a resumption of the conflict against Iran. Breaking, U.S. CENTCOM has denied Israeli media reports, claiming its commander, Admiral Brad Cooper, is pushing for a strike on Iran, calling the reports false. Look, let me be clear, Cooper. You went to Israel the other day. You showed up there. You had to know that if you showed up there, Netanyahu was going to use you for propaganda. You were aware that Netanyahu was the person who told Donald Trump that Iran was going to blow up Air Force One. That's why Donald Trump, the pathetic coward that he is, hid on the food truck in order to escape the old Air Force One and go on the military plane. You knew that Netanyahu got us into this unlawful and catastrophic war. You knew that Netanyahu continues to kill people in Lebanon. He continues the genocide in Gaza. You realize all of that the Netanyahu government today said Syria will be our next Gaza. And then you showed up in Israel and you put your arm around Netanyahu and Israel Katz, their defense minister. His name is Israel in Israel. That's the guy's name, the defense minister. You heard what he said. We're never leaving Lebanon. We're going to destroy more villages there. And so you showed up. Of course, they're going to use you for that, Cooper. Cooper, you've completely beclowned yourself. You really have. You really brought shame to our military, Cooper. And from a lot of the top generals and admirals and people who I speak with, they all say that you've brought a great deal of shame to the military, Cooper, and that you should be ashamed of yourself for your behavior. You really should. Never have we had a CENTCOM leader so weak and pathetic and such a liar. And you've turned this account. We should be proud. I've always used to be proud of CENTCOM. And I think the best way you could be a real patriot is to say that Cooper's a loser and he's a liar right now. And it's sad that I have to say that. I hate saying that. But that's what he's proven to be with all of these ridiculous lies and can't manage the most basic logistics, idiot. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million. Thanks for watching.
Breaking news right now. My brothers and I wrote a book. It's called WTF America. And well, doesn't that just say it all? It comes out officially this October, but you can pre-order your copy today. Just scan the QR code or click the link in the description below.